The fact that there's a fun slide implies the existence of a not fun slide, and frankly, I refuse to believe in such a sad possibility. Resting your mouth on this disgusting metal bar that hasn't been cleaned since the ride was first assembled in 1957.
He said he was building something, that it was all for me.
The reply I received from Santa Claus somehow makes it into the episode. And the worst part is, I received an abacus that year.
Building something. Is he talking about the flayed?
He must be.
No evidence is provided for why he must be. And Nancy will end up being right, even though there is a very real possibility that the Mind Flayer is working on his Legoland airport. As they make preparations better suited to fighting off a zombie horde, no one asks if this is all just a futile homage. I mean, they just saw the flayed monster punching down trees a moment ago. A boarded up window will likely be less of a challenge. Also, how on earth do they have enough time to do all this? The flayed monster was just down the road and closing fast. It's like he's giving them time to barricade the doors and windows.
Hey, get away from the windows.
Thinking that walls are going to somehow fare better than windows against this thing. Fortunately, despite the monster having 6 legs, it only uses 2 at the most when tearing into the house, so our heroes can rebuff them. Sure is nice of the monster to give the kids a handicap like that. Okay, fine. This is an intense action-packed scene. I'm fully on board to see the gang kick some monster butt and fight to save their friend. Take the sin back. And here you'll see the elusive Mind Flayer using pointless intimidation tactics after wounding its prey. What could possibly be stopping this hulking behemoth from dealing the death blow? Why, it's the thousands of years of evolution that have given it the ability to sense when it hasn't yet reached the final showdown. Nature is truly amazing. Oh, hey, Elle, I was thinking, and let me know if I'm out of line here, but would it be possible for you to tear the monster in half before we all almost die, or does me almost crapping my pants somehow make you stronger?
88 miles per hour!
Going for the low-hanging fruit that is Back to the Future to show your episode is set in the summer of 1985. Why not go for something a little less obvious, like Silverado? Throw your cinephiles a bone, Duffer Bros. Reminding me I can no longer experience what it's like going to a movie theater in a world without smartphones.
We're laying low, cooling off, like Oswald.
Dustin chooses to reference a political assassination instead of a nerdy bit of beloved nostalgia, as we have come to expect and appreciate.
Oswald was found in the theater and shot to death.
A week later.
He was not shot in the theater as this phrasing would suggest, and it was 2 days later. The Hawkins school system needs to step it up.
Children, children, children! This interminable bickering was amusing at first, but it's getting very stale.
Murray would be excellent at TVSins.
Well, you're just a big man, baby.
Man kids.
No, first we need to stop the bleeding, then clean, then disinfect, then bandage. I skateboard, trust me.
Based on that logic, Tony Hawk must be a cardiovascular surgeon by now.
Does any of this help?
No,
Thinking Elle wouldn't appreciate that Tootsie Roll.
that doesn't look like a bowl.
Nah, it's way better.
My agreement with Lucas doesn't mean that Max should have stuck around to hear Lucas's theory of exploding everything. In fact, it means the opposite.
Being broken up, it's been hard.
Whoa, now is not the time for that, Mike.
You know, like the phrase, like, blank makes you crazy, like the word.
Mike forces his conversation on Elle while she's injured and can't escape. And the show doesn't realize he's doing a misery 2 years before the book and 5 years before the movie.
Dustin, you're breaking up.
Mike, the antenna on that model of walkie-talkie extends to 4 feet. You get better reception if you just use all the length you've been given.
Do you have any batteries? AA?
Why would I have batteries?
They may not be AA, but one reason might be the 2 flashlights taped to your helmet.
No, but he went back in time.
Then why is it called Back to the Future?
Being this far along into your LSD trip without realizing that time is a construct.
I can help look.
No, you'll scare the children.
And more importantly, other than Nancy and Jonathan, he doesn't know what they look like. This egregious beverage slurping is on par with Brad Pitt drinking Pepsi for an entire scene in World War Z.
I'm talking about a new Coke.
Episode has time to talk about new Coke. Stranger Things forcing me to see chunky things.
When was the last time you peed your pants?
Not being explicit about whether or not other people's pee counts, because sitting on that floor, the answer should be quite obvious.
I feel like this summer I have laughed harder than I have laughed in a really long time.
Yeah, but part of that was because you were drugged by the KGB. Just why?
Tammy Thompson's a girl.
Steve.
Yeah? Oh.
Well, Damn, more than a few TV series should study this as an example of how to write a scene about a character coming out to their best friends. Just 14 words, no unnecessary drama, and it feels like the most natural exchange in the world. Go ahead and take a scent off before I realize that Steve's now genuinely a good person.
She sounds like a Muppet giving birth.
Citation needed. Billy hasn't been dissolved and put into the flesh monster yet, so that we could get the Wolverine we didn't know we needed, and so the show would have a recognizable villain for the last couple of episodes. Darren Aronofsky's Stranger Things. Building a Kansas machine that turns people into dust in the wind, but not wayward sons or perfect lovers.
Hold the ride!
On your life, Magnum!
Episode takes 38 minutes for someone to finally defeat Hopper. Return to Oz. Day of the Dead isn't listed on this wall, and yet the main characters watched it in the first episode of this season. That was just a couple of days ago in Stranger Things time, so where are its show times?
One more for the big prize!
In the previous scene, Alexei was given tickets to play the carnival games, but the balloon up there says it costs 50 cents for 3 darts. So which is it? Do the games cost cash or tickets? I know movies and TV shows like to pretend silencers muffle the sounds of guns entirely, but in reality, they only reduce the sound by 20 to 35 decibels. And there's no way this guy shoots a gun at a carnival without at least a few people noticing. And no amount of creatively singing it with a balloon pop is going to change that. No one notices Murray shouting and Alexei bleeding to death because of funnel cake, I'm guessing.
Jim! They got Alexei, Jim!
Downplaying your involvement in Alexei's death. Also, Hopper's not nearly dizzy enough for having just gotten off that ride.
We gotta go.
I guess Hopper shouldn't have disbanded the Hawkins police force. I don't remember it happening, but that's the only thing I can think of that would explain the lack of police presence at the fair.
Find Murray. Get the car.
There is no way to be certain that the Russian baddie will follow him and not Joyce, but it works for reasons.
Alexei! Oh my God.
Show introduces a likable new character who dies before the season ends. Cliché. I'm not the one who gets to kick a politician in the nuts in this scene. This typical Hall of Mirrors gives them time to reflect. Grigori takes multiple shots to the chest so we'll think he's dead, but then he's all like, surprise, I was wearing a bulletproof vest. See you in the finale, assholes. Hopper takes the time to prove that a cop can go down a slide without getting owned. No one asks, где здесь? I get that this is set during the Cold War, but there were non-lethal options that may have even been easier than throwing a car, like bending their guns or pantsing them. Just saying, in this instance, murder was the first resort. And Dustin loves murder, apparently.
Elle has superpowers.
I'm sorry?
Superpower. She threw it with her mind. Come on, catch up.
Steve's splaining.
Russians? But what Russians?
The Russians!
Those were Russians?
I'm beginning to think there might be Russians.
What are you talking about? I couldn't understand half of what you were saying.
How many times do I have to tell you with the low battery?
Worked out? We almost died.
Hey, Elle, tell me you're tired of listening to all of this bickering without telling me you're tired of listening to all of this bickering. My sentiments exactly.
That was an amazing mess of mediocre mediocrity. Today, we celebrate our Independence Day.
He said he was building something. He also said
he loves food, he loves travel.
Do you guys hear that?
Why are we whispering?
I'll pay for that. Elle.
yeah.
El Nino is Spanish for the Nino.
Hey, Robin. You gotta check this out.
Even the stars up here in the sky look like a mess.
She's so funny.
You got pregnant for funny?
Where we're going, we don't need
Underwear.